It begins in 1969, at the height of the muscle car wars. Chevrolet was already dominating headlines with the Camaro, but inside their engineering circles, something more radical was taking shape. The standard Z28 was already a precision-built performance machine, developed to meet Trans Am racing requirements with its high-revving 302 cubic-inch V8. But for a brief moment, Chevrolet experimented with pushing that formula even further. The result was the cross-ram-equipped Camaro Z28. At its core, the cross-ram setup replaced the traditional intake manifold with a dual 4-barrel carburetor system mounted on a cross-flow aluminum intake. It wasn't designed for ease of use. In fact, it was temperamental, difficult to tune, and not particularly friendly on the street. But that was never the point. This was a racing-derived solution. Officially, the Z28's 302 V8 was rated at 290 horsepower, a number that concealed its true high-revving potential. With the cross-ram system installed, airflow improved at higher RPMs, allowing the engine to breathe more efficiently under race conditions. However, the system sacrificed low-end drivability, making it impractical for everyday use. Because of its complexity, cost, and limited appeal, very few buyers opted for the cross-ram setup. Many of those that did later removed it entirely, replacing it with more conventional systems. And that decision, decades later, would turn surviving original cross-ram cars into some of the rarest and most valuable Camaros ever built. From there, we move into 1970, when Chevrolet unleashed one of the most brutal combinations ever installed into a utility-based platform, the El Camino SS454LS6. At first glance, the El Camino was a compromise, a blend of pickup utility and passenger car comfort. But beneath its practical exterior, Chevrolet offered one of the most aggressive big-block engines ever to leave a factory floor. The LS6 454 cubic-inch V8. Factory rated at 450 horsepower, the LS6 was widely recognized as one of the most powerful engines of the muscle car era. It featured high-compression internals, solid lifters, and a performance camshaft that gave it a raw, uncompromising character. In the El Camino, that engine transformed the vehicle into something entirely unexpected. It wasn't just quick, it was brutally fast for its size and weight. Yet because of its unconventional body style, it never received the same attention as its Chevelle counterpart. Production numbers for LS6-equipped El Caminos were relatively low, and over time, many were driven hard, modified, or lost entirely. Today, surviving examples, especially those with documented originality, are considered some of the most desirable muscle-era utility vehicles ever produced. But while brute force defined the early 1970s, precision and innovation had already been shaping GM's performance identity years earlier. In 1963, Chevrolet introduced what many consider one of the most iconic Corvettes ever built, the split-window coupe. Designed under the direction of Bill Mitchell and brought to life by Larry Shinoda, the 1963 Corvette Stingray Coupe featured a distinctive rear window divided by a central spine. It was a bold design choice, one that prioritized aesthetics over rearward visibility, and it only lasted 1 year. Due to concerns over practicality, the split-window design was discontinued after 1963, making it instantly unique within Corvette history. But beyond its design, there was an even rarer configuration: the fuel-injected version. Chevrolet's Rochester mechanical fuel injection system allowed the 327 cubic-inch V8 to produce up to 360 horsepower, delivering sharp throttle response and impressive performance for its time. Unlike carbureted engines, the fuel injection system offered a more direct and immediate power delivery, especially at higher RPMs. However, the system was expensive and required precise maintenance, leading many buyers to opt for simpler, carbureted setups. As a result, split-window Corvettes equipped with factory fuel injection were produced in limited numbers. Today, they represent the intersection of design innovation and advanced engineering, one-year styling combined with one of the most sophisticated fuel delivery systems of the era. By 1969, Pontiac had fully embraced its role in the muscle car hierarchy, and nothing captured that spirit more than the GTO Judge. Originally introduced as a response to rising competition and internal sales challenges, the Judge was meant to stand out. Its bold graphics, unique color options, and performance-oriented branding made it instantly recognizable. But within that lineup, there was a more serious option: the Ram Air 4. Under the hood sat a 400 cubic inch V8 equipped with high-flow cylinder heads, a more aggressive camshaft, and improved intake and exhaust systems. Officially rated at 370 horsepower, the Ram Air 4 was designed for high-performance driving, particularly at higher engine speeds. It wasn't as docile as the standard GTO configurations. It required careful tuning, higher octane fuel, and a driver willing to push it into its power band. Because of that, relatively few were produced, and even fewer survived in original condition. In 1965, Chevrolet quietly introduced a car that most people never saw: the Chevelle Z16. Created as a limited production homologation effort, the Z16 was built to explore the potential of the Chevelle platform as a true performance contender. At its heart was a 396 cubic inch big block V8, officially rated at 375 horsepower. This wasn't just an engine upgrade. The Z16 featured a reinforced frame, upgraded suspension components, and heavy-duty braking systems. It was engineered as a complete performance package, not just a cosmetic variant. Production was extremely limited, with just over 200 units built. And because it wasn't heavily marketed or widely distributed, it remained largely unknown outside of enthusiast circles at the time. Today, it stands as one of the rarest and most significant early big block muscle cars Chevrolet ever produced. As the early 1970s progressed, the muscle car landscape began to change. Emissions regulations tightened, insurance costs rose, compression ratios dropped. But Pontiac wasn't ready to let go. In 1974, they introduced one last statement: the SD455 Trans Am. By this point, most performance engines had been significantly detuned, but the Super Duty 455 was different. It was engineered with reinforced internal components, including a strengthened block, improved connecting rods, and revised cylinder heads designed for durability under stress. Officially rated at 290 horsepower, the numbers didn't tell the full story. The SD455 delivered strong, real-world performance, particularly in terms of torque and mid-range power. It retained much of the muscle car character that had defined earlier years, even under stricter regulations. Production numbers were limited, and by 1975, the engine was gone. The SD455 Trans Am would become one of the last true high-performance muscle cars of its era, a final echo of a fading generation. But before emissions and regulations reshaped the industry, Chevrolet had already demonstrated what raw, accessible performance could look like. In 1962, they introduced a full-size car that would go on to define early muscle car culture: the Bel Air Bubble Top 409. Its nickname came from its sleek, pillarless roof design, which gave it a smooth, flowing profile. But the real story was under the hood. The 409 cubic inch V8. Originally developed for heavy-duty applications, the 409 quickly found its place in performance circles. With dual 4-barrel carburetors, it produced up to 409 horsepower in its highest factory configuration. It was a simple, powerful engine built for straight-line speed. The car gained additional cultural recognition through music, most notably in the early 1960s, helping cement its place in American automotive history. Today, surviving bubble-top 409 cars are prized for both their performance heritage and their cultural significance. And finally, we arrive at a car that blended luxury with raw performance in a way few others attempted. The 1969 Hurst Olds. Developed through a collaboration between Oldsmobile and Hurst Performance, this car was built to bypass internal GM restrictions that limited engine sizes in certain models. Under the hood sat the 455 cubic inch V8, equipped with performance enhancements that delivered strong acceleration and impressive torque. But what made the Hurst Olds unique wasn't just its power, it was its identity. Gold and white paint, distinctive striping, and signature Hurst components gave it a presence unlike anything else on the road. It wasn't just a muscle car, it was a statement of exclusivity. Production was limited, and its specialized nature meant that it remained relatively rare even when new. Today, it represents a unique chapter in GM history, where performance, branding, and innovation intersected in a way that defied corporate boundaries.